As you can see, except for very few areas in the central hills, the majority of the country is open. And this is the grid distribution network that's in Sri Lanka, which has, if you juxtapose it with this map, quite a high penetration. Next page. Now herein lies the interesting thing. CEB projects that currently we have an annual demand of 15,000 gigawatt hours. 2030 demand is 30,000 gigawatt hours. Now this is just going by very conservative figures, utilizing 15% of the water body surface in rivers, reservoirs and riverine basins and 10% in lagoons. We can generate 20,000 gigawatt hours from rivers and reservoirs by floating solar and 34,900, so let's say 35,000 gigawatt hours from lagoons. Next page please. Now 15 and 10 was taken out of extremely conservative environmental concerns. I'm an environmental engineer by profession. I can easily tell you in the reservoirs, which are all artificial constructs, we can easily go to 20 to 25%. Lagoons will not be negatively impacted given the ecosystems of our lagoons. 20% is possible. Which means we can go for 103,000 gigawatt hours versus the 15,000 gigawatt hour current demand. You do the math to see how many times that is. Even by 2030, our demand will only be 30,000 gigawatt hours, leaving us 70,000 gigawatt hours of excess capacity. Next page, please. I think that slide didn't quite appear, but even if you assume or give a value of 10 US cents per unit in potential to sell, hint, export, that's a value of 7.5 billion US dollars to the Sri Lankan economy in terms of asset value. Let us take the Mahaveli system. This is the transformer capacities already existing with the inbuilt grid infrastructure. We can go for 1,600 megawatts of installed capacity. Next page, please. And the grid is always there. That's almost, this sector of the grid is almost parallel to every hydro reservoir and every river that you can think of. Next page, please. Snapshot scenario 2. Price it. Next page. I'm just taking some, don't worry about the accuracies of these numbers, accuracy doesn't matter. I'm just illustrating the principle. So this is what Derana in April 2023 telecast live as the breakdown of the generation sector. Next page. So you see, just from renewables, the average cost of generation going from 485 to 36 is only 2271. But if you take the entire gamut of fossil fuel, it's 9166. Next page. Let's go into the next page. Next page again, please. This is the most important thing. Again here, Dr. Vidura Galapanava mentioned dispatch. Yeah, this is the problem. See, if you break down the very high costs, we are generating electricity at 126 rupees a unit versus 66 from fossil sources against 2271 potential. And mind you, 103,000 gigawatt hours is possible. Next page, please. So technically, if you average the cost, and I'm going by the presidential decree of 2020 December, 70% by renewable energy, 30% by non-renewable sources, the average generation cost should be 35.90. Why is CEB trying to compel us to go into more? At an average cost of 70.98. Next page, please. Yeah, that's it. So let me quickly delve into the speech component of this. 15-minute dispatch interval is the world standard. We haven't even thought about it. All that Dr. Vidura Galapanava mentioned, all the complexities can be programmed by algorithms and artificial intelligence. PUCSL can come up with the policy, the national policy to do so. If we do that, a lot of our problems are resolved. 1994 to 2007, maybe 2010, coal was viewed as the cheap generation source. Post 2010, the world of electricity generation evolved and it moved away from fossil fuel. Solar PV and mega solar PV particularly rapidly became the world standard, and by 2015, countries like Europe, Australia, Scandinavia, India, China And I'm ashamed to say even countries like Brazil and Argentina in South America, even Kenya and Ethiopia in Africa started moving towards these renewable energy sources. By 2018, backup battery was almost a standard technology. We are in 2023 now. Both these technologies are perfectly mature. Cost ranges between 4 US to 5 US cents solar only, with battery backup maybe 8 to 10 US cents per unit. So clearly Sri Lanka has not gone in that direction. CEB engineers, the experts of Sri Lanka, keep stalling. Inertia, they say, grid balancing issues, they say. For someone like me who is also equally knowledgeable in the sector, the only inertia and balancing problems is in the line of thought, not in the technology. Forgive me, I don't intend to insult anybody, but of course if the hat fits, they are perfectly welcome to wear the hat and feel whatever emotion that they want to. I just want to bring out this issue so that the Commission has a reality check and they can align themselves with what is the correct thing to do. So technically I demonstrated there, never mind the 22% increase that they are talking about now in October, having increased it almost 60% or some such number in the past within this year. This is the third power increase tariff. They should actually be focusing on cutting down our electricity generation cost by 50% to 35.95, or that number that I showed you. Which brings us to the statutory obligations of the PUCSL by way of the Act number 35 of 2002. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, are you aware of how powerful your act is? It is not subjected to various whims and fancies of the Ministry of Power and Energy or the CEB. You stand above it. You are an independent regulatory body. I have analyzed it, and in my detailed written submission, I have gone by line, analyzing these various acts. The Electricity Board Act of Act 17 of 69, 20 of 2009, Amendment Acts 31 of 2013, and 16 of 2022. All vest absolute power in you, the PUCSL. You have the power not only to just hold sessions like this and try to ratify the demands of CEB to increase tariff. You have the power to micromanage CEB. You can look at every detail of the operational strategic planning, and if there are errors, and of course I know you have problems, CEB is deemed to be the sector expert. If they are not going to cooperate with you, you have the power within your act to appoint an international neutral expert panel and get international expert opinion. Let me tell you this, CEB is just a copycat. It has never gifted any pioneering electricity generation technology to the world. And if these other countries from Europe to Africa can implement renewable energy in their grids on a permanent basis, going up to 70 to 100% of generation, who is CEB to tell us no? Let me stop by quoting to you a very particular and salient feature of your Act, 35 of 2002. Part 9, General, Section 42, clearly states, and I quote, "The Commission shall be deemed a scheduled institution within the meaning of the Bribery Act, and the provisions of that Act shall be construed accordingly." Members of the panel, do you know the significance of that? Let me direct you to Supreme Court cases 50, 51 and 52 in 2022. Interestingly, against the Ministry of Power and Energy and CPC. Here, the three-member learned honorable justices of the bench in a 22-page report concludes that no line ministry or authority of Sri Lanka can violate by action or by deed or even by legislature, intended legislature or gazette notification, the provisions provided and envisioned in the Bribery and Corruptions Act. That violates Article 12 of the Constitution, which constitutes a fundamental right violation of every citizen of this country. You know the implications of that, right? If you do not use the powers vested in this institution, the PUCSL, by your own act and take corrective measures to get our country back on track, you, CEB, MOP can misbehave, but you have the directive power to get them back into alignment. If you do not utilize your act to do that, it will be you, the PUCSL, that will be in violation of the fundamental rights of the citizens of this country, not the CEB. They are secondary. So, the question arises, with a national policy of 70% by renewable sources, why are we not there? I'm not here again, I'm being very harsh, but I also want to be very blunt in giving you a reality check. What we need to do is not blame fingers and point it at each other. The technology is matured in 2010, mind you. 30 have not taken a single step. 22 projects are stuck at BOI because CEB refuses to sign power purchase agreement. You have the authority to call BOI for an inquiry, hold independent audits, prosecute, involve the judiciary to prosecute CEB, even the Ministry of Power and Energy. You sit above all these institutions. Utilize the power in your act, and I promise you, and I'm sure every member here and other members like Dr. Vidura Kalapana, my colleague, will also do this. We pledge our support to you to get this nation back on its track, and I am perfectly willing to do it pro bono publico, in the interest of the public, free of charge. Utilize our knowledge. Let us get this country back on track, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.